Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the Off the Bench podcast. I'm Robert Sellers, and today is our third preview video for the 2025-2026 college basketball season. We'll be discussing the Big 12 Conference today, and I can't wait because the Big 12 Conference is always a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun last year. It's going to be a lot of fun this year. We've done the SEC and the Big 10 already. If you want to check those videos out, they're on the channel somewhere. I'm not the most organized in terms of running a YouTube account, but if you want to hear about the SEC or hear about the Big 10, go check them out. If you want to hear about the Big 12, stay right here. If you want to hear about all three of them, then go watch all three of them. I mean, they're all long, so it's going to be a chunk out of your life, but go for it. If you like listening to college basketball insight, that's what I provide. I mean, it's my favorite sport. And folks, as I'm recording this, it's Friday night. We are getting closer and closer and closer to the start of a college basketball season, which is always so exciting. It starts in 3 days. It starts on Monday as I'm recording this video. We are quite literally on the precipice. It's been a long off season and we are back. We are so back in terms of just the college basketball season returning, which to me is the most exciting time of the year. So we're going to hop right into it. We're not going to waste much time as we never really do on this channel. We always get right into things. No dilly-dallying whatsoever, especially this episode. With the Big 12, last year, dominated by Houston once again, and the Cougs won the conference, but Houston was not the only team in the Big 12 that was impressive. Texas Tech made it to the Elite Eight. They were great. They were the runner-ups in the regular season Big 12 race, and they nearly made the Final Four. BYU was great last year. They were super exciting, super electric. Arizona was really, really good. They made the Big 12 championship game. Who else was good in this conference? Kansas was really up and down, more down than up, it felt like at times, but they competed. Iowa State started out white hot and then slowed down a little bit, had a couple of disappointing losses, but still snagged a 3 seed and still won a tournament game. And then Baylor made the tournament as well. Kansas State just fell off the tournament, but a great league nonetheless. I was impressed by a lot of what I saw last year from the Big 12, and I think they're taking a step forward this year. So we're going to start with the team that I think is the best in the Big 12. And it should be no shocker that I think the Houston Cougars are going to win the Big 12 once again this year. I mean, I try not to use the phrase unbelievable a lot. I think it's a phrase that is tossed around and used way too much in the sports world on almost everything. Everyone, they see a crazy catch in baseball, or they see a crazy throw in football, or whatever it may be, and they go, unbelievable, man. This guy's unbelievable. What an unbelievable story. It's an unbelievable atmosphere. This game is unbelievable. And most of the time, the thing that they're describing as unbelievable is believable. But in this case, what Kelvin Sampson has been able to do with the Houston Cougars, their first 2 years in the Big 12, is truly unbelievable. With those who are not familiar, basically, the Cougars were in the American Conference for a really long time. And they were dominating towards the end of their reign in that conference. They were winning it all the time. They were head and shoulders above the conference. And then with all the realignment in conferences, it seemed like Houston's move to the Big 12, they would take a step back. They weren't going to dominate that conference. I mean, it's the Big 12. They got Kansas. They got Arizona. They got all these super great schools. And Houston moving into it, people thought they were going to definitely lose a step. This is not the American Houston. Well, guess what? In their first 2 seasons, the Houston Cougars are 34-4 in the Big 12 with 2 outright regular season Big 12 championships and 2 tournament wins. It is nuts. It is just out of this world crazy how dominant the Houston Cougars have been in the Big 12 in their first 2 years in the conference. It's unreal. I mean, Kelvin Sampson has built a juggernaut in the great city of Houston, Texas. And the Cougars came up just short last year of capturing that elusive title. It was an awesome tournament run. They barely sneaked past Gonzaga. That was a really good game. Afterwards, it produced a really cool press conference from Kelvin Sampson. And then after that, they barely sneaked by Purdue, another really good game. And then they went to play Tennessee, and I will vividly remember this. I was walking out of one of my friends' houses after watching Florida Texas Tech, and I heard someone say, man, Tennessee's playing Houston tomorrow. Tennessee's going to win that game. Tennessee will smoke them. They'll be in the Final Four. And I turned around and I was like, dude, Houston's nasty, man. Houston's going to win that game. And I walked out, and sure enough, the next day, Houston blew Tennessee out of the water, got to the Final Four, It looked like they were going to lose against Duke, and then just the ferocious comeback of the Houston Cougars. It might have been my favorite moment of the entire basketball season last year in college basketball. It was epic. Houston was down like 7 points, like under a minute left, and behind the efforts of JoJo Tugler's defense, Emmanuel Sharp hit a big shot. Who else made big plays? Juwan Roberts made a couple free throws. Juwan Roberts defended Cooper Flagg on his last second shot. Great stuff from Houston. They were able to pull out that win, go to the Final Four, or not go to the Final Four, go to the National Championship to face off against the Florida Gators, and they just barely came up short. It went down to the final seconds, and Emmanuel Sharp didn't get the shot off at the end of the game. I'm just going to leave it at that. And the Florida Gators cut down the nets in San Antonio. Still a great season from Houston, but the question going into this year is, can Houston finally capture that elusive title that has eluded Kelvin Sampson in his career? Well, I'm here to tell you that Houston can 100% win the national championship. I mean, last year they were second in KenPom. They were 12th offensively and first defensively. And you might say to yourself, oh, okay, well, that's great. That's the peak of your talent right there. It doesn't get much better than that. Well, in fact, it does, ladies and gentlemen, because this year, preseason, Houston is first in the KenPom ratings, 10th in offensive efficiency, and yet again, first in defensive efficiency. I mean, this, in my opinion, is the best team in college basketball. And there are no exceptions. And I hear Purdue. I do hear them. I hear Kentucky. I hear Florida. I hear St. John's. I hear all these teams. But none of them, in my opinion, stack up to the Houston Cougars. I mean, first of all, you got to start with their key returners. Milo Zuzan at the point guard position knows how to run this offense. He is an athlete. He seriously flirted with going to the NBA draft, came back last minute. Great shooter, shot 43% from three last year. He's 6'4", in incredible shape, great defender. Literally, pretty much everything you want from a Houston point guard, Milo Zuzan has. He will beautifully fit the LJ Cryer mold that Kelvin Sampson's been able to do with his point guards over the last few years. Also, Emmanuel Sharp, great shooter. He can really take over a game with his skills. Averaged 12.6 last year, 41% from three. He's a veteran, not a super highly recruited guy, but a guy that just fully bought into the Kelvin Sampson system and is now reaping the benefits of that. And then my favorite player on this team, JoJo Tugler. I love JoJo Tugler. Technically, his name is Joseph Tugler, but if I have the opportunity to call someone JoJo, I'm going to call them JoJo. So JoJo Tugler, he's only 6'8". He only averaged 5.5 points per game and 5.9 rebounds. So you might look at that and say, it's all right. But JoJo Tugler is the best defender in college basketball. His hands are huge. His hands are like the size of me. They're ginormous. And he's super long. He's lengthy. He is just so aggressive and so hard to score on in the paint. And he can match up with any big in the country and frustrate them to no end and lock them down. He is so good. And he's not the only Houston Cougar that's going to be dominant defensively in the front court. And that leads me into the second best part about Houston, behind their returners, is their freshman newcomers. I mean, they have so much freshman talent in this program, in the likes of which Kelvin Sampson has never seen. He's not known for being this huge recruiter. He's known for being like the best talent developer in the country. But this year, he's got 3 5-star recruits that he's brought in. Kingston Flemings, the freshman shooting guard. Isaiah Harwell, the backup small forward, or he'll be a guard, he'll be small forward. He's 6'6". He can kind of be a hybrid. And then Chris Senack, who I think is just going to be a machine in the paint. He's 6'10". Him and JoJo Tugler in the paint. I mean, good luck scoring. Good luck scoring on this Houston Cougars team. Their defense is going to be that good. Senack and Tugler that's just unfair. That is literally unfair. You're not going to be able to score in the paint. There's just no chance. Chris Senack is too athletic. He's too long. And JoJo Tugler, like I said, is the best defender in college basketball. So if you want to score in the paint, just pass the ball. Pass it back out. You're not going to be able to score down there. They're too good. And then out there on the edges, I mean, we know what Houston does defensively on the perimeter. It's elite. And they bring back 2 guys on the perimeter that have been doing it for years, and they have 2 insanely athletic, insanely highly recruited guys that they also bring. This Houston team is so good defensively. It's unreal. It's the best in college basketball. So those are their strengths. What are their weaknesses, you may ask? I'll ask the same question. I might say I don't know what their weakness is. I don't think you can pick out a single definable characteristic about this team that they can't do. I mean, Milo Zuzan's a great passer. He's going to be great with the ball in his hands. Flemings and Emmanuel Sharp are just knockdown shooters. Don't give them any space. This team has an identity. They play slow. They play great defense. They're elite on the perimeter defensively. They're elite in the paint defensively. They're as athletic of a team as you're going to find in college basketball. There's literally not a weakness on this basketball team. The only thing that I could possibly see as a weakness is maybe they have a couple games where they just forget how to shoot. But I just don't think that's very likely. We didn't see that very much last year. I think this team is so good. In terms of their non-conference play, they play Auburn and Birmingham. That's pretty much a road game for the Cougars. They are in the Players Era. God, sweet Players Era. Player Era's tournament is going to be so awesome. That's going to be like the closest thing we get to March Madness until March. I cannot wait for the Players Era. They play Syracuse and Tennessee. So Houston versus Tennessee rematch of last year's Elite Eight game will happen in Las Vegas in the Players Era. That should be a very defensive game, as it always would be between those two teams. They play Florida State in the Toyota Center in Houston, so it's basically a home game for the Cougars. And they play Arkansas and New Jersey. Why Houston and Arkansas are traveling all the way to New Jersey to play a basketball game, I don't know the answer to. But hey, I'll take Kelvin Sampson versus John Calipari any day of the week. That's going to be an awesome game. So Houston, in my opinion, not only the best team in the Big 12, but the best team in college basketball. They're my prediction to win the national championship this year. I'll be cheering for that because I love Kelvin Sampson and he's yet to grab one. So that would be epic. I just think that this team is almost unbeatable. I'm not going to say that they're going to go undefeated in the Big 12, but they were 19-1 in the Big 12 last year, so that's not the craziest thing to say. That's the level of dominance that this Houston Cougars team has brought to this conference in their first 2 seasons of being a member. So expect great things from Houston, and don't expect to not have your expectations met because they're going to be elite, just let me tell you. So, moving on to who I think is going to be the second best team in the Big 12, behind the Houston Cougars. It's the only team that beat Houston in the regular season, and they did it in their own building. The Texas Tech Red Raiders, in my opinion, are the second best team in the Big 12. And I know that's not some crazy opinion that I'm formulating. It's pretty much the overwhelming opinion. But I just think it's the correct one. Texas Tech is going to be a phenomenal basketball team. They were phenomenal last year. They got better and better and better as the season went on. They finished the season 15-5 in the Big 12, which was good enough for second in the regular season. They lost to Arizona in the semifinals of the Big 12 tournament, and they snagged a 3 seed in the March Madness bracket and made it all the way to the Elite Eight, where they should have beaten Florida if Darryn Williams just didn't make free throws and Walter Clayton Jr. turned into Steph Curry. They would have won that game if those two things had went their way. Also, there was a moment in that game where there was almost a backcourt violation. There was almost an 8-second rule, and ended up not working out. McCaslin was very mad about that. But anyway, Texas Tech is going to be a really good team. Of course, when you talk about Texas Tech this year, you have to start with their big two, and that is JT Toppin and Christian Anderson. JT Toppin will be their starting 5 most likely. He'll play a lot of 4-2. Luke. I hate big names, man. Big names give me so much trouble. Luke Bamgboye, I'm probably pronouncing that completely wrong, might play some 5, and Toppin might play some 4. But JT Toppin is one of the best players in college basketball. He was an All-American last year, averaged 18.2 a game in the Big 12, along with 9.4 rebounds per game. So, I mean, he's a 20-10 threat, double-double threat every single night when he steps onto the court. He's 6'9", transferred from New Mexico last year, and just was one of, if not the most impactful transfer in the country. So, big shout out to JT Toppin. Definitely a preseason National Player of the Year candidate. Probably the Big 12 Player of the Year favorite. So, he's going to be scary. He's so good in the paint. In the post, he just grinds you to death. I think he's a lefty. I don't remember that correctly, but I mean, he's post moves for days. Good luck stopping him one-on-one if your name is not JoJo Tugler. And then their point guard, Christian Anderson, is the second member of that big two. And that duo, Christian Anderson and JT Toppin, is probably the second best duo in college basketball, right behind Braden Smith and Trey Kaufman-Renn. Christian Anderson can score very, very well. He got better and better as the year went on last year, too. And then in the tournament, in games like against Arkansas and even against Florida, he was one of their go-to guys. He's a great shooter. He's a great scorer. In a lot of the tournaments he played in the offseason, people were saying he was like one of the best players on the court at all times. I think he's going to be leaps and bounds better than what he was last year, and he was awesome last year. He averaged 10.6 points per game and shot 38% from three. I think both of those numbers are going to go up. He is just a really, really good basketball player. And then I love what Texas Tech did around those two guys. Of course, those are your two stars, Christian Anderson and JT Toppin. And they just have a lot of elite shooters around these guys. Donovan Atwell from UNC Greensboro shot 40% from three last year. Tyree Bryan, 43% from three last year at SCU. I don't actually know what SCU is, but I wrote it down in my notes. And then LaJuan Watts, 42.2% from three at Washington State last year. This dude might be your Darryn Williams replacement. He is a dog. 6'6", averaged 13.7 a game with 6.7 rebounds and 4.4 assists. He did it all at Washington State alongside Cedric Coward. He is going to be awesome. And then I just mentioned earlier, of course, Luke Bangboye. I'm just going to call him Big Luke because he's 6'11", transferred from VCU. This dude averaged over 2 blocks a game at VCU. Didn't do much else but stand under the rim and just be a freak of nature and block shots. But that's kind of what Texas Tech needed. They didn't have that last year, really. JT Toppin's only 6'9", not the most elite not the greatest rim protector of all time. Luke Bangboye should definitely be that. So this Texas Tech team is going to be great. Of course, defensively, they're always good. They're always feisty. And they like getting out in transition, and they should be able to hit threes off of Anderson and Toppin's offensive game. So can't wait to watch Texas Tech. They will be a national title contender for sure. The weakness I see on this team, one of the main, of course, two main pieces departed from this team, really three from last year. That being, of course, Darryn Williams, who was the bell cow of this team, especially in the latter half of the season. Whenever they needed a bucket, they went to Darryn Williams, and he got it for them. So JT Toppin is going to really have to step up in clutch moments for them. Same with Christian Anderson. I think they are more than able to, though. I'm not really worried about that. Chance McMillan left, who is your best three-point shooter. Luckily, you brought in 3 better three-point shooters, perhaps. So that's not even going to be really very much of a concern. But I think the main loss, the biggest loss on this team, was your starting point guard, Elijah Hawkins. He was really good at what he did. Of course, he wasn't like an amazing scorer. He didn't go out and average 15-plus points for this team. But he took the ball up. He had the ball in his hands a lot. He distributed. He was the best passer on this team. And the flow of the offense really kind of went through him. He was the unsung hero, in my opinion, of the 2024-25 Texas Tech Red Raiders. And you lose him. And with that, you lose a lot of your good passing. So it's just going to be interesting to see the flow of this offense. If who's going to be the main passer on this team, who's going to be the point guard. I mean, Christian Anderson obviously is the starting point guard, but he averaged 2.2 assists last year. He wasn't the best passer. So we'll see if he steps up. Who knows? Maybe the freshman Jalen Petty will step in and be a great passer. So I do think Texas Tech's going to be awesome. They are preseason 12th in KenPom. They were 9th last year. So KenPom thinks they're going to take a little bit of a step back, which is interesting. But they have a great non-conference schedule as well. They play at Illinois. That should be awesome, man. Texas Tech at Illinois is going to be lit. Then they play in the Baja Mar tournament, and they'll play Wake Forest and then probably Purdue. So Texas Tech, Purdue, strap in for that one. That one's going to be legendary. They got LSU in, what does that say? Fit with? What does that mean? Oh, Fort Worth. Golly, I can't even read my handwriting sometimes. They play LSU in Fort Worth, which is basically a home game for them. They got Arkansas and Dallas, and they got Duke and MSG. That game is also going to be awesome. So shout out for Texas Tech for scheduling some awesome non-conference basketball games. Should be a blast. Should be a great season for the Red Raiders. I cannot wait to watch Houston play Texas Tech. That game was awesome last year. It should be great again this year. Those are the best two teams, in my opinion, in the Big 12, and they should be throughout the rest of the season. But they're not the most exciting two teams in the Big 12, and I'm going to get into one of those right now as my number 3 team in the Big 12. And that is none other than a team from Provo, Utah, the BYU Cougars. The Cougs were one of my favorite teams in college basketball last year. They started the season a little slow, but they came on late, and they were awesome. They were so much fun, such a good shooting team. They finished 14-6 in the Big 12. They made it all the way to the semifinals in the Big 12 tournament. One of their best wins, one of the best games of last season was their win against Iowa State in the Big 12 tournament. I mean, they were just scoring at will. Joshua Jefferson was white hot for Iowa State, and then BYU, everyone was hot. So I think they ended up winning that game like 97-93 or something like that. Awesome game. And then, of course, they got throttled by Houston. But, I mean, it is Houston. You kind of have to expect that. But this BYU team should be out there. They were a 6th seed in the tournament after that. They made it all the way to the Sweet 16. They upset Wisconsin, beat VCU, and then they got just steamrolled by Alabama because Alabama made like 40,000 threes in that game, which is what BYU was supposed to be doing. But they did lose to Alabama. Credit the Crimson Tide there. And then that was the end of their season. They were 26th in KenPom last year, 9th offensively, just 82nd defensively. So a much better offensive team than they were defensively last year, and KenPom thinks that's going to be the case again this year, where they're preseason 4th offensively and 55th defensively. So their strengths definitely should be you have to start with this team's big 3. And by that, I mean point guard Rob Wright, small forward / shooting guard Richie Saunders, and forward AJ Dybantsa. I mean, this team should be awesome. This big 3 is maybe the best big 3 in college basketball. I mean, there's a lot of teams that have a good big 3, but this team, it's got to be up there. Their style of play fits perfectly into all 3 of these guys. I mean, Rob Wright, we'll start with him, the starting point guard. He's a sophomore. Super highly recruited guy. Went to Baylor. Played really, really good basketball there. It just sort of seemed like his potential was being held back a little bit by that Baylor offense. Transfers to BYU. Gets a bag to transfer to BYU. He averaged 4.2 assists last year. Should be a great distributor. I'm excited to watch him. Richie Saunders is a stud. This dude is an absolute baller. He's 6'5", but he plays like he's 6'9". I swear, he's so active on the defensive side of the basketball. But that's not the most impressive aspect of this game. It's his ability to score. I mean, that's the main reason why BYU was so good offensively last year was their entire team's shooting prowess and Richie Saunders scoring at will. He averaged 16.5 points per game last year. He was 43% from 3. He's really recognizable. He has a lot of curly hair, and he's got a headband. He is awesome. I love Richie Saunders. He was one of, if not my favorite players in college basketball last year. Love that man. He's awesome. And then, of course, AJ Dybantsa. If you don't know AJ Dybantsa, get ready to learn him this season because he is going to be on every highlight reel that you watch about college basketball on SportsCenter almost every night because he is going to make so many unbelievably athletic plays that he's not even going to look like he's in the same league with these guys. He's the number 2 recruit in the nation per 24/7 Sports. 100 stars on 24/7 Sports. He's 6'9". He's so athletic. He can score at will. I mean, pretty much from anywhere on the court. He can get to his spot. He has so much flow. He's going to be a NBA talent for sure. He's got a awesome future ahead of him in the game of basketball. So those are your big 3. Rob Wright, Richie Saunders, and AJ Dybantsa. And of course, BYU likes to play fast. They like to shoot a lot of threes. And these 3 guys just work perfectly for that. Rob Wright's going to be a great distributor. And then Richie Saunders loves to play fast. And AJ Dybantsa literally is like the greatest fast tempo player you could possibly ask for. So BYU spent a lot of money to get these 3 guys, and they got them. And I think they're going to reap the rewards from that. They should just score so many points. I mean, this offense is going to be deadly. This is going to be the best offense in the Big 12, for sure, in my opinion. I think last year, a lot of where they struggled with on offense was teams that really guarded well on the perimeter. because, BYU's offense was pretty much live and die by the three last year. They had so many good shooters. And when they played teams that could guard so well at the perimeter, they struggled. Like Houston almost completely took the three away from BYU because they're so athletic and it's hard to get an open three look against that team. And every time they played Houston, they would lose by like 30 points because they couldn't shoot threes. But this year, I don't think they're going to have that problem anymore because they have AJ Dybantsa. Even if you guard the perimeter so well, you cannot guard AJ Dybantsa one-on-one. He's just too good offensively. He will score on any spot on the floor. He is so good. So when you have that lows, when you play a team like Houston that's going to take away the three-pointer, you give it to AJ Dybantsa, clear out, and let him cook somebody. So I really think that there isn't going to be a feasible way to stop this offense. I legitimately believe that. Unless AJ Dybantsa just has a terrible off night and no one can shoot. And those two things happening if those two things coincide, I don't think that they will coincide. But I guess that'll knock you off your rhythm, but that's probably not going to happen. I'd say their weaknesses mainly is on the defensive side of the basketball. They're improved defensively. They were not a good defensive team that last year. And if you want proof of that, just watch almost every game they played, and especially watch that Alabama game, because legitimately, they could not stop Alabama. Alabama made so many three-pointers in that game because BYU really struggled to guard the perimeter against Alabama's guards. But I do think the defense has improved. I think Saunders and Dybantsa are great defensive players. And I think Xavion Staten, the freshman center, is not getting talked about nearly enough. He's 6'11". He should help in the front court because they're really small. They're small in the front court. And that's another thing Alabama was able to take advantage of because Grant Nelson, Cliff Amore were near 7-footers. And Kiba Kita, I think that's how you say that name, Kiba Kieta, BYU's center is only 6'8". And he's a scrapper and he plays really hard and he's a great player. He nearly averaged 8 rebounds a game last year. But when you're going against 7-footers, that's not an easy thing to go up against when they're 4 inches taller than you. So Xavion Staten, I think, is going to come in and provide a good presence. But BYU might just have to outscore people every night, which, honestly, they probably can. And they're just going to be so fun to watch. If you want to have fun watching a game of basketball this season, go watch a BYU game, especially in their non-conference. Their non-conference is going to be a blast. Some of the teams are playing. They play Villanova, goodness gracious, it's late. They play Villanova in Las Vegas on Monday, the opening night of college basketball. We're getting BYU and Villanova in Las Vegas, and then Florida, Arizona in Las Vegas. Cannot wait for those games. They play UConn in Boston. That might be my most anticipated game of the non-conference play. They play them in TD Gardens, which is where the Boston Celtics play. AJ Dybantsa is from the Boston area, so he gets to come back to his hometown. And these two teams are just so good offensively. It's going to be an awesome game. It's going to be a shootout. I cannot wait. I know I'm saying that a lot, but I legitimately cannot wait. They play Wisconsin in a rematch of their second-round game last year in Salt Lake City. That'll be fun. They play in the Terry Chocolate ESPN events. God, what is wrong? I can't speak words right now. They play in the Terry Chocolate ESPN Events Invitational. Thank you, God, for helping me get through that. They got Miami and then either Dayton or Georgetown, and then they play Clemson and Madison Square Garden because why not? Awesome non-conference schedule for BYU. They're going to be a lot of fun to watch this year as they were last year. And they should definitely be a tournament team. I think the floor is a 5 seed for BYU, and the ceiling is a 2 seed. Cannot wait to watch them. I'm going to take a quick sip of water before I get into the number 4 team in the Big 12. All right. In my opinion, the 4th best team in the Big 12 and rounding out sort of the top tier teams of the Big 12, of course, Houston's kind of in a tier by themselves. But then I got Texas Tech, BYU, and then Arizona in the next tier in the Big 12. I think Arizona's awesome. They're just going to play bully ball. I can't wait for it. Last year, Arizona 14-6 in the Big 12. They lost to Houston in the finals of the Big 12 tournament. That was a pretty close game, too. So they had a pretty good run there. They were a 4 seed in March Madness. They just smoked Akron. They beat Oregon. That was a really good game. It's a terrible finish to that game, though. Just fouls. It was not very fun to watch. But they did beat Oregon, their former Pac-12 foes. And then they lost to Duke in the Sweet 16. So a good run for the Wildcats, but Cooper Flag did cut it short. They were 13th in KenPom last year, 11th offensively, 38th defensively, and KenPom thinks they're going to be 15th this year. So should be a lot of fun, should be a good team. As I said before, bully ball in Arizona. Their strengths are going to be their ability to just bully you. I think their defense is going to be awesome. Down low, they got a 7'2" center. And once again, man, these names. Y'all are just finding different ways to pronounce names and just finding ways to make me frustrated. Motia Juice Krivas? I don't know, man. I don't know where they come up with this kind of thing. Krivas is 7'2". He was dealing with a lower leg foot injury last year, but he's back healthy now. He's going to anchor the defensive front court. And then they got some guys that are just elite freshman defenders. Koa Pete is a round mound of rebound. He's like Charles Barkley. He's 6'8". He's like 240 pounds. He is a bully, especially in the paint. Good luck, going in the paint and not getting hurt with Koa Pete down there. Dwayne Aristode is also just a dog. I guess he's 6'8", so he's more of a perimeter defender, but he's really good on defense too. I think Arizona's freshmen are really going to bully people down low, and I think it's going to be really fun to watch. Also, they've got a lot of great freshmen on the team. If you know anything about Arizona basketball this year, it's that they're going to rely a lot on their freshmen, their true freshmen, to make plays for this basketball team. That's Braden Burries, who's a 5-star top 10 recruit in the nation. He's a very versatile guard, great on offense, great on defense, good shooter. Dwayne Aristode and Koa Pete, I've already mentioned, both really, really highly rated guys, both 6'8", both great defensively. I really like all three of these guys. I think that they're going to get better and better. I think there's a lot of hate on Arizona right now because they're so freshman reliant. People are saying, oh, they're going to struggle. They don't really know what it's like playing college basketball. These guys are going to be awesome. I don't know if y'all remember, but Duke started 3 freshmen last year, and they were really, really good. I'm not saying these guys are Cooper Flag, Kaman Malawak, and Con Kneppel, but they're elite. They're going to be awesome. And they're going to improve. They're going to get better and better the more college basketball they play. They're going to play fast. I think they're going to be great in transition. Jaden Bradley is going to be your starting point guard. He's super athletic, great in transition, very highly recruited guy out of high school, played at Alabama, transferred to Arizona. He's a good passer. I think his passing is going to have to improve a little bit. But with him in transition, with Burries in transition, Aristode in transition, they should be great. Also, they return Anthony Delorso. He's 6'6". He'll probably play the 3. Great shooter. He was 41% from 3 last year. They could always rely on him to get a bucket from the outside. He'll be your best shooter. I think this team really has a lot of cohesion. They're going to get defensive stops. They're going to get out in transition. They're going to play fast. And they're very athletic, and they're going to get better and better and better as the year goes on. The only thing that I'm worried about with this Arizona team, yes, they're going to play in transition a lot, and that's how they're going to score a lot of their points. But I am a little concerned about their half-court offense. They lost Caleb Love. Caleb Love, a lot of times, was a blessing. He saved them a lot, but at times he was also a curse. He was very unpredictable. But he was a great passer, and he established, I don't want to use Caleb Love and consistency in the same sentence. Their offense had somewhat of a flow with Caleb Love. I don't even feel comfortable saying that. Caleb Love was so unpredictable. But basically what I'm trying to say is that, yes, Jaden Bradley's good, but I think Braden Burries is really going to have to step up, or Koa Pete is really going to have to step up and really help out this half-court offense. I think they can do that. We just don't know if they can do it yet. So that's the main concern with this team. But I think they're going to be great still. We'll see who steps up, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Someone's going to step up offensively on this team. It could be Jaden Bradley. He could turn into an all Big 12 guard. It could be Braden Burries or Koa Pete. It could be Dwayne Aristode, who we don't really know because there's a lot of freshmen on this team. But I think they're going to be awesome. I'm really excited about Arizona. In terms of non-conference play, they play Florida and Las Vegas Monday night. Going to be an awesome game in Las Vegas right after the BYU-Villanova game. They play at UCLA. an old Big 12 matchup there. That should be awesome. Two great defenses going at it. They play at UConn. That's going to be tough. Going on the road to play at UConn is never an easy thing to do. They play Auburn at home. They got Bama and Birmingham. And they play San Diego State in Phoenix, which is basically a home game. Great non-conference slate. So many opportunities to get quad one wins. I love coaches that do this. I think stacking your non-conference just, A, provides us with more super fun basketball, and B, get yourselves an opportunity to get really high-level wins, which boost your resume. So I think it makes a lot of sense, and Arizona's doing that this year. So shout out to them for sure. The Arizona Wildcats should be a lot of fun. And they round out my top 4 in the Big 12, which I think is the top tier of the conference. Now, a wise man, a man that is very knowledgeable in college basketball, might put Iowa State in their top 5. And you know what? I think that's pretty smart. So, for my number 5 team in college basketball, I have the Kansas Jayhawks. I don't have the Iowa State Cyclones in my top 5 because Darryn Peterson exists. Because Darryn Peterson is an absolute American hero. He is a dog. He is the savior for the Kansas Jayhawks. I love Darryn Peterson. I am so happy that I have Kansas in my top 5 because Darryn Peterson is just going to be an absolute unit on the basketball court this year. Kansas basketball, they've taken a step back. I mean, Kansas has always dominated the Big 12, no matter what. And now Houston has swooped in and just stolen their role. People aren't afraid of Kansas anymore. I mean, Kansas last year was 11-9 in the Big 12. What? Kansas going 11-9 in the Big 12? The preseason number 1 team went 11-9 in their conference? Yes, they did. Yes, they did, Robert. Yes, they did. They lost to Arizona in the Big 12 tournament. They were a 7 seed. Kansas was a 7 seed. And then they lost in the first round to my boy John Calipari. The Hall of Fame coach, John Calipari. I got some comments on the SEC video about me disrespecting John Calipari. He is an awesome coach. He might be the greatest college basketball recruiter of all time. He's a legend. Amazing, amazing college basketball coach. He's done it everywhere he's been. And he's a great talent developer too. I mean, he's developed so many guys that have turned out to be stars in the NBA. And what I said about him was that he's not the greatest in-game coach in the sport. And honestly, I stand by that. I mean, as I said, Hall of Fame coach, legend. Great recruiter, great talent developer. But he's had some great, great teams that have failed their expectations. I'm just going to say that. And if you give me some of the teams John Calipari has had and you give them to Nate Oates or you give them to Todd Golden or Dan Hurley, I just think there are guys that are more schematic gurus that know what they're doing and get the most out of their guys a little bit more than John Calipari does. But still, Calipari, Hall of Fame coach, legend, unbelievably good recruiter, great motivator, and great talent developer. I'm not going to take anything away from him. He's great. But this is not a John Calipari video. I'm talking about the Kansas Jayhawks, so I apologize to Bill Self for getting interrupted in the middle of his preview because I know that he watches these. So after being a first-round exit, Kansas said to themselves, we got to do something different. First of all, we got to get Hunter Dickinson out of here. I mean, they didn't really have a choice, but that Joker's got to go. I mean, no disrespect to Hunter Dickinson, but man, the Hunter Dickinson experiment did not work out at all. Kansas was good defensively last year. They were 11th in KenPom in defensive efficiency, but they were not good on offense. They just did not have the flow. None of the pieces they brought in worked out. So they said, you know what? Instead of bringing in some highly recruited transfers, we're going to bring in the best player in the freshman class. Darryn Peterson has arrived in Lawrence, Kansas. He's going to be fun, man. He's going to be an absolute blast. He is the most well-rounded prospect in this cycle to me by far. I mean, AJ Dybantsa is awesome. We just talked about him. But Darryn Peterson, I think, is a little bit better. They're very different players, so it's kind of unfair to compare them. But I love Darryn Peterson. I think that he's going to be able to score at will. I think that the offense is going to completely run through him. He can score at any spot on the court. He knows what he's doing. He has so much flow to his game. He gets to his spots. Unbelievably good shooter, great finisher, and a heck of an athlete. So he's really the full package. I think defensively they're going to be great again. My iPad is slowly dying right now. But defensively in the front court, you got Flory Badunga, who is awesome. Great recruit last year. Averaged 1.6 blocks last year. 6'10", 5.4 rebounds a game. He was kind of the backup center behind Hunter Dickinson. He's going to come in and be the starter. Great defensive player. They got Bryson Tiller behind him, another true freshman. Really skilled guy, 6'10". He's a youngster, but he's a great rebounder and he's a great defender. He had 4 blocks in their exhibition game against somebody. God, I'm blanking on who it was against. But he played great, so they should be great defensively in the front court. Trey White, I think, is a good defensive player on the perimeter from Illinois. Melvin Council, transfer from St. Bonaventure, good scorer. We'll see how good of a defender he is. And, of course, Darryn Peterson's so athletic, it's going to be hard to believe that he's not going to be a good defender. And then Cole Rosario is a 6'6" freshman shooting guard who's got great length, amazing shooter. So I think defensively, Bill Self knows what he's doing with this team. I think they're going to get stops, especially in the front court. They're going to be fun to watch on the defensive side of the basketball. And they built around Peterson. Interestingly, they built around them well defensively. My critique about this Kansas team is that offensively, it's literally Darryn Peterson or bust. Like, he's going to have to do everything offensively for this team. Not that Cole Rosario is a good shooter, but he's not going to be able to score one-on-one. He's just an off-the-ball scorer, which is every team needs him. He's a great player. Melvin Council, he was good at St. Bonaventure, so I don't know how well that's going to translate. Trey White has been up and down. I don't know what to think about Trey White. I think he gets too confident sometimes. And then Flory Badunga is not a great scorer. He's a good lob threat, and he'll be there inside. I love the guy. But the scoring around Darryn Peterson, the offense around Darryn Peterson, leaves a lot to be desired. And I think that has to be the main critique about this team. But still, I mean, I think Darryn Peterson can put up 30 points against almost any team. I think defensively they're going to be great. I really like the Kansas Jayhawks. I think they're going to take a big step forward from what they were last year. And I think reshuffling this team after the departure of Hunter Dickinson is what they needed. And they should be an improved basketball team 100%. So I'm excited to watch Darryn Peterson. How could you not be excited to watch Darryn Peterson? He's an American hero, as I've already said. The non-conference that Kansas plays, they got a couple of blue bloods. They play at North Carolina, and they play Duke at Madison Square Garden, a game they won last year. Then they're in the Players Era. The Players Era just has so many good teams. It is loaded. That's the offseason tournament I'm definitely most excited to watch, or non-conference tournament. They got a relatively light draw in the Players Era, too, with Notre Dame and Syracuse. So, Players Era, people gave them some love. They play UConn at home. That should be awesome. Dan Hiller coming into Allen Fieldhouse. They got Missouri and Kansas City, and they got at NC State, so they'll play on the road at Darrion Williams' squad. I'm going to connect my iPad to a cord real quick because it's dying and it's giving me some trouble. All right, sorry about that. But yes, Kansas is going to be awesome to watch. Cannot wait to check out Darryn Peterson's highlights each and every night because they're going to be something else. Moving on to my number 6 team in the Big 12, a team that I just kind of disrespected a little bit, but a team that I think is so great, the Iowa State Cyclones. Now, Iowa State had a really interesting year last year. They started off great in the non-conference. They looked like one of the best teams in the country, and then they kind of really slowed down. Of course, the injury to Keyshawn Gilbert really held them back. But they went 13-7 in the Big 12. They lost to BYU in the quarterfinals in an awesome game. But they still got a 3 seed in the tournament despite their late season drama, including losses to Oklahoma State and teams like that. Like, how did you lose to Oklahoma State? Whatever. They were 11th in KenPom last year. Really good. They were really balanced. 19th offensively, 13th defensively. And KenPom thinks they're going to be the second best team defensively in the country in terms of defensive efficiency. I think that might be a little bit bold, KenPom, but there's better minds than me out there. The defense should be nasty. It should be really good. They got a veteran presence on defense. Let's see if my iPad will figure out how to scroll. Google Docs is struggling right now. I do this very jankly, if that's a word. Here we go. Finally found our way to the Iowa State section. So, the Cyclones have a veteran presence on defense, of course. Joshua Jefferson is one of the most under talked about players in the Big 12 and in the nation. He's a good scorer. Put up 13 points a game last year. Great rebounder. Great defensive player at 6'9", playing the 4. Milan Momcilovic. I think I nailed that. Momcilovic, actually. Shout out to my mom. Momcilovic, 6'8", 3. Can score well also, 11.5 points per game, 40% from 3. So, and then of course Toppin, the starting point guard on this team, 6'1". He's also got experience too. So they know how to play defense in Ames, Iowa, and I think that's going to be their strong suit. They got a great culture down there. Joshua Jefferson sort of embodies that. Not a super highly recruited guy, but just has really bought into this team and this culture. Same with Lipsy and Momcilovic. So they're going to be fun to watch, definitely. Do they have a lot of offensive explosiveness on this team? I don't necessarily see it, but they should have a lot of offensive consistency. They really don't like to play behind or to play from behind because they rely on kind of playing slow and playing great defense and scoring slowly. But I don't think they're going to be playing from behind very much this season, so they might even not have to worry about that too much. Iowa State should be a great team. Should be a tournament team, definitely. They played Mississippi State in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I don't know why Iowa State's playing Mississippi State in South Dakota, but I don't schedule these games. The answer is probably money. Iowa State is also in the Players Era, which big shout-outs to them for joining that tournament. They play the Johnnies. They play the St. John's Johnnies. There's an explosive team. That'll be a fun game to watch. I love the Johnnies. So the Johnnies versus the Cyclones, and then they also have to play Creighton. So Iowa State's playing the Big East in the Players Era. They also have to play at Purdue. Yikes. That's going to be rough. And then they play Iowa in the Cy-Hawk series at home. So another fun non-conference schedule in the Big 12. I'm proud of the Big 12 for scheduling some non-conference games. Iowa State should be great. They should definitely be a tournament team. Will they be a 3 seed this year again? I don't think so. But hey, they could prove me wrong. Their offensive consistency and veteran presence could completely prove me wrong. At number 7 in the Big 12, I have a team that not a lot of people are talking about at all. They talked about them last year a bunch in the preseason, but they are getting underrated in my opinion. The Cincinnati Bearcats. That's right, Cincinnati, that was a top 25 team preseason last year, ranked in the AP poll. A lot of people thought they were going to contend in the Big 12, and they were very disappointing. They had a really bad stretch in the non-conference, and then they went 7-13 in the Big 12. They got smoked by Iowa State in the second round of the Big 12 tournament. They were really underwhelming last year. A lot of their young talent they went out and got did not pan out. It was a very unfortunate season for Cincinnati. But I think they're going to bounce back in a major way. They were 55th in KenPom last year. They're already 36th preseason this year. So, why do I think they're going to be so good? Well, I said just a second ago that Iowa State's defense should be nasty. If Iowa State's defense is nasty, then Cincinnati's defense is disgusting. It's going to be awesome. Let's see if I can scroll to Cincinnati in under 5 seconds. I probably can't. Oh, wait. There they are. I was able to. So, this Cincinnati defense is 5th in KenPom preseason, which is awesome. Their front court is going to be elite defensively. They've got a 7'2" center as well, Mustafa Tiam. Either Thiam or Tiam, I don't even really know. Mustafa. Why can't we just all have normal names? Goodness gracious. So they got a 7'2" center who played at UCF last year, heck of a recruit, 97 star transfer recruit for 27 Sports, which is pretty high. Baba Miller is going to be their starting 4. He's 6'11" out of Florida Atlantic. So they have height, they have experience, and they have skill in the front court defensively. And then I think these freshmen are going to be really, really cool too. I love Keyshawn Tillery, freshman point guard. He was a 93-star, top 57 player in the nation per 24/7 Sports. His intangibles are off the chart. I've heard his leadership is fantastic. His effort, just his drive is amazing. So look for Keyshawn Tillery to make a huge impact on this team. Also, Sean Abiv, I think is how you say his name. His first name is Sean, last name is Abaev. So Abiv is my best guess. Sean Abiv, I've heard, is a great ISO scorer. Get him the ball in one-on-one situations, he can make plays. And the talent that they have at the freshman position, they also have a lot of great shooters on this team. Day Thomas is a great shooter. Baba Miller even is a good enough shooter, and I just think that they're going to dominate defensively, and I think that they're going to be much better offensively this year than they were last year because of their freshman talent and the shooters around them. I will say a lot of what hinges on this team's offensive success is point guard Kerr Kriisa, transfer from Kentucky. Before he was at Kentucky, he was with West Virginia, and he was great with West Virginia. Put up 42% from 3 with the Mountaineers, 11 points per game, and 4.7 assists with the Mountaineers. Transferred to Kentucky and kind of got buried in their depth chart, didn't do very much. Hopefully for Cincinnati, we see the West Virginia version of Kriisa and not the Kentucky version. But if he's out there playmaking, if he's out there scoring and shooting well, and distributing to Day Thomas and getting Sean Abib one-on-one chances, and Cincinnati's getting stops and getting out in transition, they could be a lot of fun. I think the Bearcats are going to be much improved this year. I think they're a tournament team. I think they could contend to at least make a little bit of noise in the Big 12. They're not going to win the conference, but they're going to be fun and they're going to be good, especially defensively. So, shout out Cincinnati. They have a fun-ish offseason schedule. They play Dayton at home. Dayton should be maybe the best team in the A-10, so they got to play them. They got to play Louisville. That's also at home. Then they play at Xavier, which is a huge rivalry. And then they play their first game outside the city of Cincinnati on December 13th against Georgia and Atlanta. And then they play Clemson in Greenville, South Carolina, which is basically a road game for them. So, fun non-conference schedule. We'll see how good they are defensively, especially against Louisville. And then also against Xavier and other teams. But fun year for Cincinnati. They should definitely be improved from where they were last year. At number 8 in the Big 12, I have Scott Drew and the Baylor Bears. They were 10-10 in conference last year. A lot of people are down on Baylor. A lot of people are saying, how come Baylor's not a top 10 team preseason? How come Baylor's not this? Baylor's not that? They're not a national title contender. What is Scott Drew doing there? They've been so good the last few years. Why are they not going to be great this year? Well, I think the fact that we're looking at Baylor and saying, wow, they're not going to win a national championship this year, they have taken a step back. That's just, I think a lot of credit needs to be given to how good Scott Drew has been at that program. I mean, nobody wanted that job for a lot of reasons when Scott Drew took it. And he's won a national championship. He's converted Baylor into a great, great program that people now expect to be one of the elite teams in college basketball every single season. So I think the fact that Baylor people are mad that they're not as good this year is a testament to Scott Drew's greatness, which it's weird that it works like that, but I really think it does. Baylor did make the tournament last year. They were an 8 or a 9 seed. I forget. I think it was a 9 seed. I think Mississippi State was the 8 seed, but I could be wrong. They beat Mississippi State in a very close game, and then they got Tyrese proctored by Duke in the second round. Proctor was like 8 for 8 from 3 or something like that. So it was a second round exit for the Bears. They lost BJ Edgecombe to the 76ers. He's out there balling, so shout out BJ Edgecombe for being a stud. But this team is anchored by their true freshman small forward. And man, don't even get me started on how to pronounce this guy's name. There's no way I'm going to be able to get this right all season. And there's no way that my thing's going to load. Okay, here it is. Just brace yourselves. I'm definitely going to be completely wrong on this one. Townday Yasalfau. Yasalfau? Townday Yasalfau? Who comes up with a name like that? I don't understand. No disrespect to Townday's mom. I'm sure she's a great woman. But wow, Townday Yasalfau. What a name. But Townday is 6'6", true freshman, 98 stars on 24/7 Sports, 14th in the country. Super athletic guy, just a freak athlete from what I've heard. Very similar to what VJ Edgecombe was at high school. And I think he's going to be able to score at will if he trusts himself. Another big transfer that Baylor got was point guard Obi Ogbem from Wyoming. 44% from 3 last year with the Cowboys, averaged 17.6 per game. He should be awesome alongside Townday. Those two are going to be able to score. That's going to be exciting. I think their team relies a lot on them. And it should be electric. I mean, Townday should be really fun to watch just because of his athleticism. And Obi should be fun to watch because of how good of a shooter he is. They also surrounded these guys with a couple good shooters. Cameron Carr shot 40% last year at Tennessee. J.J. White shot 44% from 3 at Omaha. So they got some good shooters. And Jocelyn Bodo is going to be holding it down at the center position, transfer from High Point, where he averaged 1.4 blocks a game. So I don't think they're going to be all that great defensively. Ken Palm thinks they're going to be 20th defensively, so they think they're going to be better than I think they're going to be. I think that the fun part about this team is their two newcomers, Townday and Obi Ogbem. Should be fun to watch. Two complicated names, but two great players. And I think Baylor will be able to make the tournament, but I don't think they're going to make very much noise in the tournament unless Townday catches fire and just goes nuts. But I think the weaknesses on this team are the front court offensively and just sort of the overall passing. Obi Ogbem is your true point guard. I don't think he's the best distributor. I could be wrong, but I don't know how well this offense is going to flow, and I don't know how elite they're going to be in the front court. But we'll see. That's who I have at number 8. And the last team I'm going to mention in the Big 12 is the Kansas State Wildcats. Mostly because P.J. Haggerty has transferred there. P.J. Haggerty has averaged 21-plus points a game in the last 2 seasons. Amazing scorer. Just an elite guy with the ball in his hands. He played at Memphis last year and carried that offense. iPad is struggling once again. Come on, buddy. There we go. So P.J. Haggerty is going to be elite. One of the highest rated, if not the highest rated transfer in the transfer portal class. I know that Darryn Williams has a lot to say about that. But they also got Nate Johnson out of Akron. The Zips were really good last year too, and a lot of that was because of Nate Johnson. He's their starting point guard. He's 6'3", great scorer, pretty good passer. So I think that there could be games this year where P.J. Haggerty just goes out and drops 30, and Nate Johnson supports that, and because of that, they might win games. And Kansas State was really up and down last year, and who knows, maybe they could make it to the Big 12 tournament and just cruise through it, and P.J. Haggerty catches fire, and they win a lot of basketball games. They paid a lot of money to get P.J., so hopefully he produces for them. Outside of him, though, I don't really know where their scoring comes from. Abdi Bashir Jr. was great at Monmouth, averaged 21.1 points per game, and shot really well from 3. 6'7" too, so he's got length. But can he go from Monmouth to the Big 12 and have that translate? We don't really know. We'll see. But it's just worth mentioning this team has P.J. Haggerty. He's going to be one of the best players in the Big 12. And he's going to be very exciting to watch. I mean, the Big 12, their star power this year is maybe the highest star power in the country. With Dybantsa and Peterson, of course, the 2 best freshmen in the country. And then J.T. Toppin, P.J. Haggerty. Those returners are also elite. This conference is going to be fun. There's going to be so many interesting matchups. So much to watch this year in this conference. Player of the year in this conference is really up in the air. It could be Peterson or Dybantsa. It could be J.T. Toppin. Who knows? It could be P.J. Haggerty. Or it could be a complete wild card. It could be Richie Saunders, for all I know. But I've got Houston winning the conference. I think this is going to be a 7 or 8 bid league, depending on what Baylor, Kansas State, and Cincinnati do. But it should be a lot of fun. I cannot wait to watch Big 12 basketball this year. And thanks so much for watching. If you've listened all the way to this point, you are a stud. You are a legend. I can tell you love college basketball, and I love it too. So thanks for watching. If you get anything from this video, it is that Jesus loves you, that Jesus died for your sins. He died for you on the cross as much as he died for anything else. If you watching this were the only person that existed on earth, Jesus would have died just for you. That's how much he loves you. So if we choose God in our day-to-day lives by being virtuous, by focusing on him instead of the ways of this world, that's where true happiness is found. And God loves you. And every time you think of God, it makes him happy. So if you take anything from this podcast, it is that. And with that, thanks so much for watching, folks. God bless. Have a great weekend. Go make somebody smile this weekend, and have a great one. Peace, folks.